What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jobbers and Goons, and today I decided to bring you guys the complete coverage of Carnage. It started in 2022, obviously ended this year, but I wanted to cover this 14-issue run with you guys because it's fucking crazy, and it leads into a lot of other amazing modern Marvel runs like Death of the Venomverse, which I will be covering right after this. We won't be covering a few of the tie-ins to this run that occur to the later end of the run, but we are going to cover everything contained within Carnage's, basically, his rampage through the multiverse. It's epic. I'm excited to get going. 200 likes and up would be absolutely amazing. The more you guys comment and the more you like it, the more the video gets out into the algorithm, the more it helps my channel grow. And ultimately, we're trying to hit 30K. So it'd be amazing if you guys joined for the ride. Now, this is kind of long. It's 14 issues. Like I said, I usually cover 5 to 10 issues a episode, but we're going to try to cover all of them today and see how it goes. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, issue 1 starts off with the picture being painted of an artist, but not the good kind, right? This is an artist as nasty as they come. He's a killer, he's a serial killer, and he's leaving blood art and murder art, essentially signaling he wants someone to come. And Detective Jonathan, I believe his last name's Shade, he's on the case. He hates this shit, right? He's like, oh my god, we have a killer out here copycatting one of the goats. And if you don't know who the goat of killers is, obviously Cletus Kasady or Carnage. The killer at this point is trying to offend the god that his mortician dad worshipped. He never saw God as good, and he hates him, and he experienced a new god that he wants to be his god, you know, someone he looks up to in a true worship sense, and he is using these murders, this blood, these rituals to call upon the god he wants, a god of symbiotes, right? That's what he's appealing to. And we see Carnage show up. Carnage shows up, and he's looking wild as fuck, right? And he goes, yo, bum over there killing people. Let me explain something. I know you think you're a demon, and I know you're trying to call upon the names of demons. You should never call a demon by its name, pussy. Like, I'm gonna let y'all know you might have high expectations for this murderer who goes by the name Feely, but he's kind of a bum, and he gets vibe checked almost every issue of this comic. It's fucking horrible. But this killer, Feely, right? He wants to be the new Carnage host. He's like, yo, I've studied the ways of Carnage. I know you love killers. I'm a bit of a killer myself. I'm trying to be like you, bro. And Carnage says, fuck off, right? He said, Cletus was the GOAT. Like, Cletus was the host for me, right? I don't have another host now. It's just me as the symbiote. And he is also called, and it's an important trope that we will keep alluding to throughout this run. He's called the devil in the flesh, which is a lot of truth to it when it comes to the Carnage symbiote. And then he's like, you know what, Feely? You want to be the man? You can follow me on my adventure and see what being the man's like. And we see Carnage has begun this hunt. Now, keep in mind, this isn't Cletus Kasady Carnage. This is just the Carnage symbiote. Cletus broke off and is doing his own thing, and we'll see what he's doing in this comic run. But this Carnage is on a hunt. And we see he's torturing Hydro Man. Now, this is fucking crazy. Because, like, in theory, torturing Hydro Man's wild in itself, right? He's literally made of water molecules. And Carnage is like, look, I've got him here. This dude's way more powerful than people fucking think. I'm gonna absorb his shit. And Feely's like, yo, what the fuck is going on? And Carnage explains to him, and we see, you know, the detective is still looking into, like, the different... Sorry if you heard my alarm go off, but he's looking into that shows my dedication. I'll be recording for y'all early as shit. But he sees he's no longer bound by man, right? The detective's investigating these symbols, but Carnage is moving a little different. Carnage says, look, I used to be human, true. Cletus used to be my host, okay. He's not my host anymore. I'm doing my own fucking thing, and I am no longer bound by the ambitions of man. I am going to cook according to the grand plans of Carnage and nothing else. Now, we see the end of this comic, as well as what's alluded to by the writer in the Cletus Clubhouse or the follow-up notes. By the way, I'm going to be trying to get the author on the channel. Already reached out to him. I'm reaching out to a ton of authors. Also reached out to the current Hulk writer. I'm really trying to make big plays for y'all, following up my interview with Josh. Now, this, he pretty much says he is indeed the devil in the flesh, and Carnage is wilding because he doesn't have a host anymore. He just has the bloodthirsty remnants of the memory of Cletus, and he's balling out accordingly after that. We also saw, for your entertainment, Cletus in the epilogue kind of went to this, like, he went to a juvie hall and fucked the juvie kids up to try and entice this other juvie kid into becoming evil. And the kid was like, oh, wait, never mind. You're, like, way too evil. And Cletus is like, all right, fuck off then, and just leaves. It's a really chaotic epilogue, but you expect nothing less from Carnage. Now, issue 2 arrives, and we see Carnage still dealing with Hydro Man. And he's explaining Hydro Man is a universal medium. He is an infinite universal medium. In theory, Hydro Man has infinite power with the water molecules of the universe, right? And that's why Carnage wanted him. He said that shit, that fluidity, that molecular manipulation, that universal medium, that is OD power. And he absorbs it. We also see that it's increased his healing power and regeneration as the detective is trying to find Feely and Carnage. He goes through a portal that starts ripping them apart, and that's when we see Carnage use a bit of the symbiote to heal him, as he thinks this is all a fucking joke. That's what makes Carnage and Cletus so scary in this run, is to them, they're pulling like the funniest prank ever. To everybody else, it's a multiversal fucking genocide. Like, holy shit, these guys are crazy. We see that Cletus at that point, the memory of him, the memory of Carnage, and a bit of the symbiote infect the detective. So now the detective is compromised. He has a bit of the symbiote, he's going to start doing wild shit. We then see the observation of the murder of Hydro Man, and it's confirmed. Hydro Man is Omega level, which in Marvel Comics, that means a lot more these days, as Omega levels are like anywhere from Planet Busters to Multiversal to Hour. Like, that shit gets ridiculous. So having that tag does indeed put you on a crazy spectrum of power, which kind of explains why Carnage was hunting him down. Also shows Carnage can literally bully Omega level beings. So it's pretty crazy. We then see that Carnage has a big plan going on. He's hunting. He's on the hunt for powers. He can not only did he absorb Hydro Man, he could take his powers, right? So now he's just hunting the super powered beings and stealing their shit. But it's hard to predict who he's gonna attack next, because they're unsure of his plan. And we see Carnage has pulled up on Spots. Spots, who got a lot of shine in the recent Spider-Verse movie. A portal-hopping, dimension-using, spot dimension-wielding villain, right? Not as popular as most, but he's damn useful. Carnage pulls up for the ones. This is where we head into issue 3. And Carnage explains to Spot straight up. He says, look, man, all respect to your hustle. Like, I do think you're kind of smooth with it. He said, the spotted dimension is damn valuable. I'm not going to lie to you, Spot. So I'm trying to take that shit. He's like, I could really use your powers. Carnage is toying with him, too. I mean, we see all these spots popping up. Spots going, yo, I'm invincible. I'll just pop back up in the spot dimension. I have all these portals. And Carnage is, like, laughing while sending his symbiotic tendrils through every portal. And while Spot's interacting with, I believe it was Feely, we see Carnage literally get the drop on him and start tearing him apart. And in one of the most gruesome moments, like, that just showed this run's gonna be fucked, he rips apart Spots in disgusting fashion and says, hey, bitch, I think you ran out of spots. Oh no! Yo, by the way, does Carnage deserve another Goon video? I'll just use moments from this run, because it gets fucking wild. But yeah, no, Carnage ripped the shit out of Spots and stole his power. And Spots was even telling him, like, yo, I can't be killed. I'm gonna pop back up eventually in the Spots dimension. And Carnage says, I don't give a fuck. Like, when do you pop back up? Pop out on me then, bitch. Like, I don't care. And he keeps it moving. Carnage is just too real. We now see, indeed, Carnage has taken the power, as he's still bullying Feely, who's like, oh my god, I'm witnessing a massacre. And he can produce portals now. He is now traversing with portals. We then see the detective is still investigating. He's still trying to figure out what's going on. And the problem now for him is that the Cletus / Carnage, whatever you want to call it, that mindset, it's in him now. Just talking shit to him, letting him know he's a bitch, right? And you never want Carnage in your head. We then shift back over to Carnage, who is discussing his fascination with particles and dimensions and Einstein-Rosen bridges. He actually finds them to be quite useful in things he's desperately trying to understand. That's one of the most underrated aspects of Carnage is his utility of knowledge. Like, if he does know something, if he learns something, he's going to use that bitch in the trenches. And the reason he's pursuing this interdimensional travel, this multiversal skipping around, is because Null allowed Carnage to taste what true power really felt like. Carnage saw where they came from. He saw where symbiotes came from. He saw the power they came from, which is most important. He said, that shit's crazier than God's. I want to be that. That's it. He saw Null was like, Null's on goat shit. I want to be like Null, bro. He was too raw. It's Carnage's motive. He not only wants to do this, though, Carnage wants to be the next killer of gods. He wants to be the Carnage of gods. He wants to make Gorr the God Butcher look like a bum off the street, which is crazy to think, right? Like, trying to make Gorr look like he wasn't putting in work is fucking nasty business when Gorr literally was killing infinite amounts of gods. We then see, now, due to the powers he has absorbed, it is not a problem for Carnage to reach across space, universes, and dimensions because of Spot and what he could do, as well as the universal medium he absorbed in Hydro Man. This is when we see Carnage straight up declare, real shit, and even in front of the detective who can kind of track him now because he has symbiote in him, he declares he will massacre the gods. This is when we get into issue 4. Just part of like, we literally watch this for the detective as he falls through a portal. Just part of a symbiote can tank falling through a myriad, which is endless, of dimensions in all of eternity. He's literally fucking tanking that shit. Just falling through, tanking it, going, oh my god, my story's really gonna fucking end here because I got too curious chasing basically a god now. And I got cheesed, right? And we see Carnage has taken Feely with him on a fucking field trip. He has traveled to one of the 10 realms. If you don't know now, Modern Marvel uses 10 realms, not 9 realms. The realm in particular here is the realm of black. This is where the elves live, the frost giant stuff, the crazy motherfuckers, Malekith people. Carnage says, fuck them people, we're sliding. And this points out and highlights what's currently going on in this realm, which is the Wild Hunt. The Wild Hunt used to make the 10 realms feared. This is also the event that really made Malekith famous. Right? Like, that's how he got his power in Ascension, was balling out in the Wild Hunt of the gods. We see Carnage is showing up here and is interested in this hunt because he's interested in the Nazwolf, which is a gift from the gods. This is the being that these dwarves are hunting. Or, not dwarves, I'm sorry, frost giants. And so he pulls up, he says, fuck these people, fuck the dark elves, fuck everybody, fuck the frost giants, anybody that wants it can get it. I'm putting in work. He wants the wolf pup because the pup essentially is a god in essence, and the utilization of the wolf pup is crazier than people suspect, and Carnage is going to show what he means by that. But he tells Feely, like, yo, I'm gonna hunt these fuckers and I'm gonna find those damn pups. We then shift back over to the detective, where we see that the symbiote is keeping him alive in, quote, somewhere between forever and eternity. This shit is crazy. And Cletus is in his mind telling him, like, yo, Carnage is going to fold every hero you've ever seen with his plans. He's that raw. And we see at that point, higher forms of Destiny and Marvel have to intervene to stop this Hall of Fame run from Carnage. The detective is pulled through a portal, and he consults with a woman who essentially tells him, look, I can see the webs of the multiverse. I control the webs of the multiverse. And Carnage and the bullshit he's doing is changing the fates of multiple webs in the multiverse. Now, the crazy part is she shows a lot of the webs are just covered in red Carnage symbiotic tendrils. Literally, the fates of the multiverse, he can block out. You can't see them. He can control them completely without the guise of people who can see fates, destinies, and timelines. That's insane. Carnage's ability to neg fate hacks, neg destiny hacks, neg the ability to predict what he's doing. He's acausal. He's fucking acausal. Kid Carnage running around being acausal as fuck. That's insane. Sorry about that. I'm actually recording the next day. Had a lot of shit to do, then popped out with a random Gojo video. So we're back at this, recording this. Now, getting back into this, we left off with the webs of Carnage kind of concealing fate, right? And the detective sees he's got to intervene. This shit's too crazy. That's when it pops over to an elf/dwarf popping out. Not dwarf, I'm sorry. I always fuck up what they are. But they look like, this motherfucker looks like Nightcrawler. Tell me I'm wrong. He pops out on Feely, who is stumbling around during the wild hunt, and is like, yo, fuck Team Carnage. Fuck you and that devil you came with. Where's he at? And we see at this point, it's revealed that Carnage plans to hunt all of the elves, all the current Dark Elves that are hunting in the wild hunt. And he's going to use one to essentially find the pups, right? And this other Dark Elf that found Feely is like, fuck that. I'm going to camp on his ass, and then I'm going to kill him and take the credit. This hunt, by the way, is stated to be what made Malekith so, dangerous and so legendary, and Carnage thinks it's boring as fuck. On top of this, he's also taken several Dark Elves and kind of used them as clones and puppets, showing Carnage is just going all out with the hacks right now. He's using Shadow Clone Jutsu, he don't give a fuck. Now, Carnage at this point, it's kind of revealed what the game plan is, right? The game plan for Carnage is he plans to invade Hell, the realm of Hela, one of the many hells in Marvel Comics. Rob Malekith, the fallen god, and evolve further. That's right. He's stealing shit from gods chained away in hells just so he can up the drip some more. Carnage is a fucking legend. I don't care what any of y'all says. We then see Carnage has to run down on hellhounds, right? He has to literally box these motherfuckers up. He butchers them. The godhounds do not stand a chance against Carnage. Like, he really beats the fuck out of them. Except for one. And you see the boy Feely looking on with absolute horror as Carnage absorbs and puppets one of the hellhounds. Like, the godhound is his now. Just one of his puppies. That's fucking crazy. Carnage is a big dog now. This is where we see it pan over to the detective with the part of Cletus Kasady and Carnage's mind telling him, yo, if we want to stop Carnage, we gotta fucking kill Malekith, right? We can't let him get to Malekith and rob his ass, because then we're fucked. This is what then pans over to issue 6. This is what leads to it. And Carnage is openly hunting Malekith in Hell. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's running down on that god for his shit, right? Everyone else be damned. Now, the crazy thing is, Hela, she's observing all this going on, right? But she's observing it with a kind of limited perspective. You see, she can see the other symbiote hunter enter, and she can see Malekith, but she can't see Carnage. And remember how we talked about he's acausal beyond fate, beyond his story being seen, all that shit? Confirmed once more, literally in the next issue with Hela. Cletus, Amped, Jonathan also is running through Hell at this point, right? Putting in work, and he's literally taking down monsters that reside within this hell. That's how capable he is. We already talked about him falling through in a myriad of dimensions, but offensively, he can literally box monsters from extra-dimensional hell. That's how capable he is, even with a little bit of the symbiote. Now, the funny thing is, the forces of hell, they're literally awaiting Carnage. Like, they're there, waiting to see what he's popping up with, and he finds that idea fascinating as fuck. Like, he finds out they're looking for him, and he's like, man, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. That shit sounds fun. Like, I can't wait to run a gauntlet on these bitches. He does not care, bro. The forces of hell mean nothing to Carnage at this point. It's crazy to see. We then see Malekith is chained up, being tortured, enduring the trials and tribulations of hell. It's a place of punishment, right? And free Malekith, bro. He's locked up. He's trying to get out, and he's trying to see if he will ever get out. And we see Cletus, Amped, John does indeed find Malekith first. The detective found him before Carnage. Now, at this point, he's going to just kill his ass, right? And even the symbiote tells him, yo, you could reach out. You're capable of killing Malekith in this state. You really are. Just do it before Carnage gets here. Unfortunately, he doesn't have that dog in him, right? He doesn't kill Malekith. And this is unfortunate for him because you'll see why later. Carnage, you don't want to give Carnage any room to cook. I'll leave it at that. Now, the killer, or Feely, he's in the trenches still. We pan over to him, right? And he's facing the Sin Crier in Hell. A monster that is, famous within the layers of Hell. Carnage pulls up at that point, right? And he doesn't give a fuck about the Sin Crier. This Sin Crier is supposed to judge the sins of gods, right? It can deal with powers of that degree and magnitude. Carnage looks at this motherfucker and says, hey, pussy, why don't you run the hands with me? And he's like, oh, you absorb sins? Why don't you judge me, bitch? And he makes the Sin Crier look into him and try to judge him. Carnage, this is one of the craziest fucking moments. Carnage is, at this point, endless, even in the conceptual mind of Sin Eater. Keep in mind, Carnage only has, some of the memory of Cletus. This isn't even full craziness of Cletus. I put out a poll on who's crazier, Cletus Kasady or Joker. Just curious to see what people said. Dude, Cletus is crazy as fuck. Just this shadow of a memory on the symbiote of his is endless, even to the mind of the Sin Crier. And or the Sin Eater, and it fucking breaks his mind. Carnage is too much of a concept for even a god to process. Trying to mentally encapsulate everything Carnage is, everything Cletus Kasady is, no. He's too wild for that. You can't understand it. And at this point, Carnage makes it clear. And he tells Feely this, and he just says it in general. I'm not a fucking god. Stop trying to attribute things gods do and what gods get up to me, because that's not me. I'm cooking on my own. I'm beyond gods. And Hela even states he has higher purposes beyond even gods. Cletus amped John, then runs off with Malekith. Like I said, he doesn't kill him. As Malekith starts to say, yo, my powers are turning, we might get out of here. Shit's getting real. It's a mess right now. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's not looking good for the good guys. Carnage is up. Issue 7 debuts, right? And we see there is a cosmic well that connects to all rivers of any form in Marvel, right? And they're trying to do the real race. Malekith and the detective are really trying to get the fuck out of Dodge. And Hela, again, is talking about this trope often associated with her realm that she doesn't like. And she says, Hell is oftentimes called a prison. It's not a prison. This is a place of punishment, retribution, justice. You have to atone, right? It's not prison. It's a different concept, which is pretty interesting to see her go about. And then we see Carnage is in this realm. He's in Hell. He's fucking everything up. He says, look, dog, real shit, I don't care if Malekith ran off with that stupid-ass detective. He was like, I will literally walk around every layer of Hell for eternity and kill everything I find until I get to Malekith and I kill him too. That's how dedicated to his craft Carnage is. Time doesn't mean shit to him. He's like, bro, I'll do this shit for eternity. This is a good time. I don't give a fuck. And that's when Hela intervenes. She's like, all right, I don't need my entire realm cooked. You can actually do something for me. I can do something for you by taking you to where you need to be. And she whispers that, she essentially has something she wants from him, payment, so to speak. And he agrees. Now, we don't see what that payment or that deal is until later, but we know they have a deal at this point. Carnage then catches up to Malekith, as Malekith is killing his tormentors and was planning to betray the detective himself. As you guys know, Malekith isn't a good guy. I don't even fucking know why the detective saved him. Malekith is a piece of shit, so he was going to do piece of shit things anyway. I don't know. He was caping for the wrong one. Hashtag caping for the wrong way. It's just bad work for the detective. That's when Malekith and Carnage squares up, and Malekith talks his shit. He's like, yo, I had my own event too. I've been beefing with Thor for ages. I've fucking been beefing with Asgard for ages. I used to make the 10 realms shake. You got me fucked up. And he's like, Carnage, you're not shit to me. I used to use objects like you for war. Carnage rocks his shit. He's like, all right, pussy. Like, you want to talk crazy, you're just going to have to show me the hands are crazy, because I'm with the shit. And they get to brawling. Carnage soon gets the drop on Malekith as he says, hey, you dumb bitch. Why do you keep assuming I'm here to kill you? You just have something I want. And he robs something from Malekith, like absorbs something from him. We then see Hela observing this happen, him bullying Malekith, and she's like, dude, I don't even know what the fuck Carnage is up to. I don't know what's going to take place in his story. She says all she knows is that this is as big of an apocalypse as any apocalypse to ever occur or be observed. This includes Ragnarok, all the shit she's witnessed Thor do throughout the ages, like everything. This is just as big as any event she's witnessed, which entails a lot in Marvel's history. This is where we see, and again, other author notes of the end of the issue, Carnage is trying to evolve past all things in the method of killing. Like, when it comes to the concept of murder and killing, he's trying to transcend even that, which is a wild thing to consider, right? Like, trying to go beyond even the concept of killing. Carnage is just wild as fuck, but he doesn't believe personally Noel and people of that power, he doesn't believe they have a stopping point or a cap. You really can just keep evolving. So that's the mentality he has. We start off issue 8 with Hela saying this Carnage will go beyond her and is a weapon you can't wield. All you can do is maybe trick it. So we outright have someone as powerful as Hela saying she doesn't scale to Carnage. That's a wild fucking statement. This bitch used to throw down with Mephisto on Tuesdays. Like, she's like, no, Carnage can't be wielded. He can't be controlled. He's too powerful. And she can't tell what's going to happen with him. But she's made a deal with him, and deals, she says, destinies, fates, they transcend time and space, aren't bound by them. So she doesn't care what dimensions he's in, or if no dimensions exist, he'll still honor his code. She says Carnage actually would keep that promise. He's a fucked up dude, but if he tells you he's going to do something, he's going to do something. We then see reality TV. It kind of pans over. This reality TV guy is visiting this haunted old Catholic type place, right? Orphanage, so to speak. And he's filming all that. He's trying to get YouTube famous. He runs into some weird shit. He sees a dude eating faces, and the guy's like, yo, cut your face off for me. I'm trying to eat. And the dude's like, what the fuck? Am I being pranked? Like, what's going on? And at that point, it's revealed that inside this house, that creepy dude, as he morphs, it's Cletus Kasady. That's right. Carnage has been running around without Cletus inside the symbiote, and Cletus has been doing his own thing with his own powers. He also states that, yo, stop trying to understand me, don't try to understand me, I'm not a ghost, none of that shit. He just says the symbiotes are beyond understanding and science. There's no way to properly define them. You can't. They're beyond description. He then shows that not just he has power, this whole house is his. He literally controls all of it. The house is shown to be infinite and endless, and is stated that way by Cletus as well. It appears symbiotes, even if tiny and remaining, can be buffed to creating infinite pocket dimensions after Cletus merged with this house, but it also goes to show how strong just symbiotes in general are. And we do see later what Cletus merges it with was a void dragon that he captured during the raid on New York, and he kind of just abandoned Carnage. But symbiotes, man, talk about a buff. I can't think of many things over the years in comics that got as big of a buff as the lore of symbiotes, for real. We then see Cletus ask him if he wishes to remain in reality or in the world of Cletus, because according to Cletus, his world's way more interesting. We then see him explain that he was almost a god as Carnage. Like, he got pretty fucking close in some cases. He says in the same breath, though, and this is what makes Cletus the GOAT of bad guys. Like, he's fucking terrible. He says the gods and stars out in existence are not as beautiful as the nightmares he has inside his own head, the beautiful carnage inside his own mind. Cletus wants to make reality his, and he will be God. He doesn't really care if everyone else thinks he's strong or whatever. As long as he's God in his own place, that's cool, because the stories he wants to tell, the carnage he wants to spread, he doesn't believe anything else in creation and Marvel is as dark, as deep, and as beautiful as the carnage in his mind. Which is wild, because he literally connected to brains like Noel, and he's like, he's not as bad as me. That's crazy. We then go into issue 9, and we see the God Maker, right? Well, what's the God Maker? You actually should know what it is. You see, the Godmaker is the forge of the dwarves, used to produce weapons that made the strongest gods of the 10 realms. It has been dormant since the tragic making of Mjolnir. The power of Mjolnir caused a godly slaughter in its creation. I mean, it's so insanely powerful. And that is nothing compared to what's about to happen. Alone's a crazy statement, but wait till you see what they're talking about. You see, what could possibly be worse than the god slaughter that occurred in the forging of Mjolnir? Carnage is what is worse. He tears gods and devils apart as he makes his way through the forge, looking for the God Forge and looking for someone to help him. And straight up, he's saying, yo, we got bigger fish to fry. I know I'm popping right now. I know I'm a big dog, but I could be a bigger dog. And that's the goal of Carnage. No one seems to understand. This man has real ambitions. This man, Carnage, is truly about the fucking bag. Carnage then stumbles upon a dwarf who's isolated himself, one of the greatest forgers to ever exist in Marvel, right? And he says, yo, real shit, dude in ISO. Cool that you're isolated. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I need you to whip me up a weapon, right? I need a weapon that is insane. And the dude's like, yo, you want me to make you some shit? And he's like, yeah, I do. And guess what? I don't give a fuck about your feelings. I don't give a fuck about how you used to feel. But let me tell you this. I know you don't like gods, and I plan to take a weapon so saucy, I'm killing all the gods. All the gods will get cooked. You hate gods for how they used the God Forge and what it ended up doing to your people and how it ended up unmaking your people. He's like, I'll get back for you. Don't worry. Blood will be spilled. And the dude's like, okay, I'll forge a weapon for you. Now, at this point, it pans over to the detective, who's still hunting Carnage, right? He's still pursuing Carnage, which is crazy to me. Like, bro, you're not going to get the job done. But whatever. He's trying to get his get back. And he's using his power as one with the symbiote to actually kill one of Hela's guards as he's looking for a way to get to Carnage. Now, it also pans back over to the dwarf again, who believes Carnage can slaughter existence if allowed to run amok. He straight up tells Feely, the serial killer, he's like, dude, we need to come together and take out your master, because if I do give him that weapon he wants, when he merges with it, it's up. We're done. And the reason he's saying that, he wants the greatest weapon in history to be made, right? It turns out what he took from Malekith was the Venom Codex. This codex contained the algorithm, the archetypal algorithm to forge the All Black. Carnage wants his All Black. He's going to call it All Blood, but he wants his own. He said, you can add some tweaks to customize it for me, but we're trying to forge my own All Black. That's the greatest weapon in history, and I'll fuck everyone up with it, which is a crazy goal to have. Like, he's going all out, as you guys can see. And this jumps over to issue 10. The dwarf gets to work, right? And he starts looking at this codex. He's observing the All Black, and he's like, yo, real shit, I've literally built weapons for gods. I've built and used power that unmakes and makes realities in an instant. He said, this shit is beyond anything I've ever seen before. He had never seen anything like the All Black. And he sets in play to essentially burn Carnage. How's he going to do that? He states the energy of the God Forge cannot be contained by anything in the universe. The only thing that can contain it is Uru. And there's no Uru in the Forge. So, when Carnage gets hit with it, Carnage symbiote, for as powerful as it is, won't be able to contain the power, and he plans on just cooking him with the raw power of the Forge. The detective, then it pans back over to him. He's making his way through trying to find Carnage, right? And he makes it to the Forge, and he witnesses as they begin to burn Carnage. Carnage is in the Forge, and that's when we see the dwarf giving his speech, right? He's letting them know what's up, and he says, yo, you can't contain that power, only Uru can. You're going to get cooked. The only thing that could save you right now is a miracle. And we see at that point the detective and his symbiote who are observing this, whether something in his mind snapped, he truly was a bad guy himself, just in a different way, or whether it was the symbiote that made him, he reached out to Carnage, merged with Carnage, and Carnage took some little shreds remaining in the Forge of Uru, merged it to himself so that he could contain the power, and started taking the energy. That's when we see this new version of Carnage is formed. Not only does Carnage have a weapon now, he is the weapon now. He is the All Blood. He sends the dwarf, the one that helped him gain this power, back to Hela. He says, yo, real shit, I would fuck you up just because it's a fucked up thing to do and I'm a fucked up guy. But you were placed on order, bitch. Like, Hela really wants you, so I'm sending you to Hela. That's too bad. Let her know I say what up. I'm keeping my word. And he gets rid of him. That's when we see Feely witnessing essentially God Carnage now. He's like, fuck that, dude. I'm out. And Feely tries to dip. That's when we see Feely get teleported, right? He's trying to get the fuck out of there. And who does he teleport to? He teleports to who he believes is the only person in creation that can stop Carnage. He teleports to Cletus Kasady. And this leads us to issue 11. We see Feely pull up on Cletus, and he's like, yo, real shit. We are not the same, right? Like, I've arguably been through more than you, Cletus. Like, you're my goat, but I've killed like 36 people. I just got done dealing with Carnage, and I need your help. And Cletus is like, dude, don't ever fucking compare yourself to me again. Don't act like you've ever put up numbers like me. That's fucking crazy. He was like, I'll really like cave your shit in. You are not as tough as me. Like, his art he left for Cletus literally didn't scale to like an insignificant murder spree he went on with the screwdriver in a diner. He killed like 39 people in that. Cletus is like, bro, you don't scale to my worst day. Like, shut the fuck up. You don't scale to me. Feely then goes on to tell him right before he's butchered by Cletus that Feely's like, yo, real shit, Carnage is trying to become a god, and he's going to consume the gods in his pursuit. Like, the gods and myths are cooked. And he's like, only you, someone who merged with it, knows how to stop him. You're the only one that can stop him. And Cletus is like, yo, that's cool, Feely. Like, that's real dope. That's a dope story you told, but I don't really give a fuck because that's not a Cletus problem. I'm doing my own thing, bitch. I don't care about none of that. We then see him explaining to Feely, like, look, this is pretty much my pseudo-reality. Like, I can do what I want here. I control everything within the old house, and I am God here. Feely realizes this is literal. Like, he's not joking. This is an infinite pocket dimension he's got stored here. How'd he even do that? And we see Cletus kind of get into the explanation of his power and how he's grown to be so tough, right? He said he had kidnapped the symbiote dragon, which I had alluded to prior. But he didn't just take this dragon. Remember, these dragons were brawling with people like Ghost Rider, right? King in Hell, Johnny Blaze, all that shit. And Doctor Strange, like, they manhandle people like that. And he morphed it to his will. Just took it, embodied that shit. He was now, thanks to this dragon, God in his own personal realm. He just took that symbiotic power and used it for himself. That's when Feely changes his approach, right? For the first time in this whole fucking run, Feely makes a play. He's like, yo, you don't put in as much work as Carnage. Like, you can say you're the GOAT, but it's Carnage that's out there making noise. It's Carnage that people know about. He's going to butcher the gods. He's going to put on the biggest show. That's the Carnage show, not the Cletus Kasady show. And this was brilliant because he attacked the ego of Cletus. Pretty much the only way you're going to get him to mobilize and do some shit. Whether the shit you want him to do, we'll see in the next couple issues. But that's when Cletus turns into this massive red symbiotic, looks like a tech monster, right? And he says he's going to give the streets a fucking show. You want to say Carnage is bigger than him? No. Cletus is the GOAT. Carnage is just what he used to spread his message. He's going to give them the real show. We see, heading into issue 12, that Cletus is combining the Void Dragon and stolen Extremist tech from Stark himself to pull up. That's a hell of a combination. A Void Dragon, and you got Extremist tech. Like, holy shit. And that's when he shows up to a diner, New York, right? And just starts fucking this place up. I'm talking about, we get a good old-fashioned Cletus Kasady show. And by the way, one of the coolest designs we've seen, as you can see, like the Stark tech in his chest, and he's in this massive symbiote form. And he's telling Feely, who's witnessing, like, yo, you don't understand. I really put in work, bro. You asked for a show. You asked me to stop the Carnage show. I'm just going to put on a bigger one. I'm going to let the streets feel me. This massacre, of course, draws the attention of Miles Morales. Miles swings in. He's like, oh fuck, that's the sign of please tell me Carnage isn't involved. And we see Carnage waiting for him as he goes, yo, it's time for the Cletus Kasady show. I'ma fuck this kid up. Let's get this money. Now, their fight doesn't technically happen in this solo run. It happens in another issue. They get into a wild brawl. The Venom by a weapon Miles has is super powerful. And it had a crazy reaction to the Stark tech. And it allowed him to get away. He was fucked up. But his heart tech, Cletus Kasady's heart tech, got damaged by Miles' Venom Blast. So he kind of had to fix that shit. It's going into issue 13 as Miles was recovering from the ass whooping, right? Feely, at this point, unfortunately for that jobber, he's still stuck under Cletus, as Cletus is planning his recovery in the shadows. He's like, yo, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna figure out this chess shit, and I'm gonna beat his ass again. Like, nobody's stopping me. I'm gonna put on the greatest show y'all have ever seen. And we see he pulls up on Stark techs, right? He pulls up on Stark's people. And he says, yo, the heart tech's cool. Stark's killing them because they won't help him. And he's like, fuck that. I want the biggest Stark tech put in my chest. I want the best Stark tech for my chest. He wants some crazy shit, and that's when it pans over to what Miles is doing, right? Miles is straight up with a team right now. They have formed a team, including Scorpion, including Taskmaster. They're deep, and they're looking to stop Carnage. They all, at the same time, recognize, like, yo, this is a form of Carnage we're not really built to handle with alone. And he's coming for all of us. We don't know which villain he's going to pop next. He doesn't give a fuck. And we see that even characters who rarely get involved with shit like this unless they're paid, people like Taskmaster are showing up like, yo, Miles, we got your back, bro. Because, like, real shit, if you fall, we all fall. We fall, you fall. Everyone's cooked if Carnage is allowed in the kitchen, right? So all chefs on deck are teaming up. That was a fucking bar on the fly, by the way. And that's when we see Cletus brawling with everybody, right? He's taking on the whole group. And this includes an interesting character, Red Goblin. Red Goblin actually has a symbiote named Rascal that is capable of absorbing other symbiotes. So the plan is everybody teams up, eventually gets Red Goblin in a position to absorb Carnage, or Cletus Kasady rather, and he will do so. That's the plan. But Carnage is merging, or Cletus, I'm sorry I keep going back in name. Cletus is merging, because they split, we gotta call them different things. Cletus is merging with the internet via Stark's internet point access and starts taking over. And that's when we get to the last issue. If you haven't smashed the like button, smash it already. This is a long video, but I've enjoyed the fuck out of recording this, right? Issue 14 starts with Cletus getting jumped, right? Like, straight up, obviously. Whole group's on his ass. This includes Red Goblin, and he's trying to absorb him. This is fucked up. And we see Cletus kind of giving a rundown narratively of this story, right? He says, I'm making my play. I'm making my noise. But there's also regular Carnage, the symbiote Carnage, not me. And he's like, regular Carnage is slaughtering myths and becoming a god on his own, or god of his own tier. And that's something he doesn't have as much interest in, but Cletus is like, yeah, I could do the same shit. He's doing the same shit. We're both rocking out, because my story ain't done yet either, bitch. And that's when we see Cletus explaining to people, like, yo, my vision of New York, my vision of what I'm going to turn this world into, it's goat shit, not Carnage. Y'all keep worrying about Carnage. Carnage is not the goat. I'm the goat. I made Carnage crazy. I'm the one that gave Carnage this ambition. And he just has a fraction of my memory. He's not really me. I'm the real GOAT. And it's a fun debate, right? Like, who's really the GOAT? Carnage or Cletus Kasady? You can see the argument for both sides. One's putting in crazy work right now. One's also putting in wild work and also claims you're his son, basically, mentally. I mean, there's a good argument to be made. And we see the Miles Morales team is also teaming up with Tony Stark Sentinels, as well as super geniuses, to try to take down Cletus. Because if Cletus gets completely in the internet and decides to just go infect everything, they don't know if he just pops out on everyone in the world, just takes them over, infects them through the internet. They don't know. Like I said, the symbiotes are way stronger than we initially thought. So everybody else is worried about what it's potentially capable of. And that's when we see Red Goblin pull up. And he was kind of struggling with other symbiotes connected to Noel. So they're like, we don't even know if you do this. He said, nah, just get me in position. He tries to absorb the symbiote and thus the mind of Cletus Kasady. Despite everything he's seen, despite the symbiotes connected to Null and what they're connected to in C, he compares Cletus to everything else as an infinite ocean of black, death, destruction, chaos, evil, carnage. That's big Cletus. And just touching his mind, seeing how crazy he truly is, folded Red Goblin. Red Goblin was cooked. And we see this massive version of Cletus rise with one of the coolest faces we've ever seen drawn, right? Like, this face is dope as fuck. The Extremist mixed with the dragon, mixed with whatever he's ascending to. Miles is like, yo, we need to get the fuck out of here before we get eaten. By the way, I will take no Miles Morales disrespect. He really is in the fucking trenches. Like, what he's dealing with is actually batshit crazy. And this is where we see at the end of this run, Iron Man himself says he will get involved with the Cletus situation. Like, that shit's too extreme. He's literally stolen Stark tech. So Tony's like, all right, no more Sentinels, no more B teams going after them. I'm getting involved, fuck that. As Carnage is now being spread in a multitude of ways. And we see at this point, at the end of this run, two crazy things are occurring. Both Cletus Kasady and his power, and Carnage and his own power, both are seeking to become gods in their own ways, and it's leading to absolute chaos in the Marvel multiverse. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. This was the entire run of Carnage. I hope you guys really enjoyed this telling by me. I enjoyed covering this story. It's pretty much all goon moments, so I had a blast. But yeah, let me know what you think of the run. We're covering Death of the Venomverse next. And yeah, anyways, guys, I've been your boy Jobbers and Goons, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.